Hey everyone, the Diplomat here, coming to you from the USA, and we are on part 15 of the Chris Watts Discovery read-through. We last finished on Discovery page 267, which were some aerial photos from the drone that they flew overhead of the oil site, Survey 319. And next, on 268, we will get into the Colorado State Patrol Hazardous Materials Incident Narrative Report. So this next section is going to be difficult as well. So I ask that if you would like to skip ahead, that you pause it here and check in the description or comment on the time to click on to skip this part. This is going to describe when they were draining the oil tanks at Survey 319 and the recovery of the children and such. So I again ask that viewer discretion is advised, and that you, if this is not right for you to read or listen to, that you please skip to the portion I will put in the description. Okay, so going on to page 268, this is incident date of 8/16/2018 and report prepared by O.L. Wilson. Narrative. On August 15, 2018, at 23:44 hours, Sergeant Armstrong received a telephone call from Deputy Director Schaefer from the CBI, requesting the assistance from the Colorado State Hazardous Materials Section with an ongoing investigation. On August 16, 2018, at 5 a.m., Sergeant Armstrong sent a text to Trooper Wilson and Mr. Bandy, both with the Colorado State Patrol Hazardous Materials Section, CSP Hazmat, advising us to contact him in reference to a CBI request. At 5:04 hours, Trooper Bandy contacted Sergeant Armstrong and advised that he would be en route to Rogan, Colorado. At 5:30 hours, I had a phone conversation with Sergeant Armstrong reference an agency assist we needed to complete. The CBI and Frederick Police asked our hazmat team to assist in recovering deceased victims from crude oil tanks in the southeast Weld County. This stemmed from a case that Frederick Police were investigating where 3 members of a family were missing in their jurisdiction. Investigators had reason to believe that two of the missing persons were deceased and dumped in 2 400-barrel crude oil tanks on an Anadarko petroleum drill site. We were asked to meet CBI agents at 7:30 hours on the north side of the Rogan exit on I-76. I responded to Rogan and met with Sergeant Armstrong and Trooper Bandy at 7:30 hours. At 7:53 a.m., Trooper Reeder with the Colorado State Patrol Hazardous Materials Section called Sergeant Armstrong, and it was decided that a 4th hazardous material technician would be needed. CBI agents arrived, and we followed them to a remote Anadarko crude tank battery site north of Rogan. Representatives from Frederick Police, Anadarko Petroleum, DT Welding, and Northern Plains Trucking were already on scene at the tank battery. There were 2 400-barrel crude oil tanks at this location. Brett with Anadarko met with everyone on scene to talk about the plan to offload both crude oil tanks and on-site safety. At 8:54 a.m., Trooper Bandy contacted the Morgan County Dispatch Center to ask for a member of the Wiggins Fire Department to contact him. At 9:02 a.m., Trooper Bandy was contacted by Mr. Walker with the Wiggins Fire Department. Trooper Bandy explained the recovery effort and requested a brush truck and a tender to respond to the scene. At 9:36 a.m., Mr. Walker called Trooper Bandy and stated he had a brush truck and a tender headed to Rogan to the staging area. Now on to page 269. Sergeant Armstrong, Trooper Bandy, and I then assisted CBI and Frederick Police conduct a grid search of the field just south of the tank batteries. We were advised to flag any item that did not belong on the ground in the area. We walked from west to east, then along the east fence to the north. CSP personnel did not see anything that appeared new or out of the ordinary to the environment. Northern Plains Trucking had tanker trucks on scene and were methodically pumping crude oil out of the tank to the east first. The crude oil was being drained into a metal pool. A hose with a screen device on the end of it pumped the crude oil out of the metal pool and into the tanker truck. CBI agents were watching the metal pool for any items that may be evidence in this case. Jeff Jones with Anadarko used a 4-gas monitor to constantly monitor the air around the metal pool to stop work if the air became too toxic or flammable. Trooper Darren Reeder arrived on scene to assist once the recovery process started. While the first crude tank was being offloaded, Trooper Bandy, Reeder, and I put rope handles on 2 containment pools. We anticipated the bodies to be covered in crude oil and were going to use the pools to put each body in, once recovered. Wiggins fire personnel arrived on scene and we staged a pumper truck to the north where the recovery would take place. The first tank was emptied enough to start opening the rear manway on the tank. DT welding workers took most of the 64 bolts off the tank door and continued to pump off what crude oil was seeping out the bottom of the door. Sergeant Armstrong went up to the top of the tank and looked in the thief hatch. Sergeant Armstrong told me he could see what looked like a body face down on the south side of the tank. Sergeant Armstrong took photos through the opening using the Weld County Coroner's Office camera. Sergeant Armstrong also photographed and measured the open to be approximately 8 inches in diameter utilizing a metal measuring tape. Trooper Bandy and I donned the proper personal protective equipment and finished removing the rear door to the first tank. We had DT welding employees move to an area not in view of the recovery. We used a squeegee to remove as much crude sludge from the manway entrance that we could. We then put 2 hydrocarbon booms in the entrance to the manway to help hold back the crude sludge so entry could be made. Mr. Schisler provided a piece of plywood which was cut by fire personnel so we could kneel on it when entry was made. We then had a brief safety meeting to discuss the process of recovering the body. Trooper Reeder and I donned structural fire fighting gear and readied our SCBA. We had 2 4-gas monitors with PID at the manway. Even with the thief hatch open and the manway off, the readings for lower explosive limit, LEL, and volatile organic compounds, VOC, were extremely elevated due to the confined space. We had Wiggins fire personnel charge a hose line and move closer to the manway entrance. Trooper Bandy and Sergeant Armstrong were posted at the hatch opening with a 4-gas monitor. We went on air at 15:41 hours and made entrance to the first tank at 15:42 hours. Trooper Reeder went in first, then me close behind. There was a body face down on the south side of the tank with the head facing west. It appeared to be a small female child. Trooper Reeder grasped the upper portion of her right arm to turn her over. Trooper Reeder then lifted her by both upper arms as I held her right leg. Trooper Reeder held her left arm and left leg as we moved the body towards the manway. Trooper Bandy grasped the left wrist and shoulder area as Sergeant Armstrong did the same on the right side. As the victim was passed through the manway, her left hand was degloved. Trooper Bandy and Sergeant Armstrong continued to support her body as she was placed into a containment pool. Sergeant Armstrong retrieved the removed skin that was from the left hand and gave it to one of the gloved Frederick police officers. Trooper Bandy and Sergeant Armstrong then moved the pool up the dirt berm and put it on a table. Trooper Reeder and I walked around in approximately 4 inches of crude sludge and looked for anything else in the tank that may be evidence. We did not see anything in the sludge. We exited the tank at 15:44 hours and walked to the field behind the tanks to be decontaminated. Joey Weiner with the Weld County Coroner's Office was on scene and took control of the recovered body. Wiggins fire personnel sprayed Trooper Reeder and I down and tried to remove as much crude oil as possible from our PPE. We went off air at 15:46 hours. We then walked back over to our trucks and changed out of the PPE and back into lighter clothing to recover. My heart really goes out to these folks. This had to be very difficult and horrific. Sergeant Armstrong continued to monitor the victim, using a 4-gas monitor, as the Weld County coroner and pathologist attempted to remove the crude oil utilizing several oil-absorbent pads. The first victim was then placed into a body bag and taken to the Weld coroner's vehicle. The second tank to the west had less crude oil in it and was pumped off quicker than the first tank. Sergeant Armstrong went to the top of that tank and looked in the thief hatch. Sergeant Armstrong told me he could see another body that appeared to be face up on the south side of that tank. Sergeant Armstrong took additional photographs using the weld coroner's camera. Sergeant Armstrong also photographed and measured the opening to be approximately 8 inches in diameter utilizing a metal measuring tape. DT welding employees also removed most of the bolts from the manway door on the second tank. While Trooper Reeder and I were donning the same PPE, Trooper Bandy and Sergeant Armstrong finished removing the manway door on the second tank. Wiggins Fire personnel again charged a hose line and moved closer to the second tank. Trooper Bandy and Sergeant Armstrong prepared the opening in the same manner as the first tank by placing a piece of plywood and 2 hydrocarbon booms by the opening. Sergeant Armstrong monitored the entranceway with a 4-gas monitor. The levels were measuring about the same as the first tank. Trooper Reeder and I went on air at 17:53 hours and made entry into the tank at 17:54 hours. I went in first with Trooper Reeder close behind. I walked over and could see a small child's body face up. I grabbed her right arm near the wrist area and moved her towards the manway. At this point, Trooper Reeder was able to secure her left arm and left leg. Trooper Reeder and I then passed the body through the manway. Trooper Bandy grasped the left wrist and shoulder area as Sergeant Armstrong did the same on the right side. As the victim was passed through the manway, Trooper Bandy and Sergeant continued to support her body as she was placed into a containment pool. During this extraction, there was some skin slippage where we had to touch the victim's body. There was also some skin on the plywood where her back made contact. Trooper Reeder and I then walked around the inside of the tank, which also had approximately 4 inches of crude sludge in it. We did not locate any additional evidence in tank. We exited the tank and walked over to the field south of the tanks. The body was turned over to the Weld County coroner, Joey Weiner. Sergeant Armstrong continued to monitor the second victim, using a 4-gas monitor as the Weld County coroner and pathologist attempted to remove the crude oil utilizing several oil-absorbent pads. The second victim was then placed into a body bag and taken to the Weld County coroner's vehicle. Wiggins Fire again decontaminated both of us with hose spray and firefighting foam. We went off air at 17:56 hours. Trooper Reeder and I then went back to our response trucks and removed our PPE. We cleaned up our equipment and began putting everything away. Trooper Reeder and I changed back into our patrol uniform. Our on-scene hazmat team continued cleaning up and putting equipment away. All of the contaminated equipment was gathered and placed within a large tarp. Brett Schisler stated he would make arrangements with a cleanup contractor to take care of the contaminated items. We cleared the scene at approximately 18:45 hours. Additional notes. After speaking with CBI agent in charge, Lewis, he advised all of us to complete one report with all our input because we were acting as one unit. All times indicated in this report are approximate. So, clearly horrific way to dispose of the bodies. If you've watched some of the sentencing hearing where the judge speaks about these charges specifically with tampering of the bodies, but also in the manner of which Chris did was absolutely horrific. Just the crude oil did such damage to their bodies. It put everyone in harm's way. It was just sick. There's kind of no other way to describe it, and that's where you get those additional charges and the sentencing that goes with it, which is well deserved. Moving on to Discovery page 272. This is a list of names and signatures. I believe everyone that was on site probably at that scene, although it looks like a lot more names. So I won't go through reading every name, but if you're interested, you can come back to page 272. But it's a lot of the officers and folks like that. Again, their names printed, and then their signatures as well. Moving on to page 273, this is a witness address update. This is regarding a number of the friends, Nicole, Sam, Jeremy, Addie, Christina, Cindy, and Taylor. That's all redacted information, which is good. Discovery page 274. Now, this these next pages, a whole number of pages, are call detail reports. So it's Weld County Office of the District Attorney. These are radio logs. So there is a lot of information in here that I'm not very well versed in, with different codes. As dispatchers, I imagine we're getting information from the police officers. Most of it is information I'm not going to read. You can come back and revisit these pages, again 274 and onward. What I will read is the information in the comments section. So this one is being reported on August 13th, and there are all different timestamps as well, but that's the main time and date of the overall document. So moving on to page 275 is more of these codes and police officer names, and then we have the comments section below. Concerned about her friend, 15 weeks pregnant, she wasn't feeling well. She is having issues with her husband as well, not responding to text messages or phone calls. Shanann Watts, unknown date of birth, late 20s, early 30s. RP, which is, I guess, reporting person, that's Nicole, dropped her off at her house at 0200 this a.m. Page 276. Her vehicle, white Lexus, is parked in the garage, not answering the door either. She also had a doctor appointment today that she didn't show up for. Her husband's name is Chris Watts. Told RP Shanann took other two kids on a play date. RP doesn't believe this because her vehicle and car seats are still at the house. RP is outside house right now in a white Dodge Dart. RP spoke with Shanann's husband, Chris, about her concern and asked him to come home to check on her. He told RP he was on his way. I guess it says ×2, maybe twice. Last time was about 5 minutes ago. He told RP he was about 45 to 30 minutes away on I-76. Waiting for OFC in a white Dodge Dart. Waiting for officer in a white Dodge Dart. Stage medical for female that is diabetic, unknown if she is home or not. Going in the house to look inside, that was at 1412, and then cancel medical if they are staged. From Coonrod, okay, no need. So that was just some more additional information on the initial contact and call from Nicole and the dispatcher information, and from Sergeant or Officer Coonrod. Next, you have a unit history. I'm not 100% sure what this is, but it has different times, dates, stamps, and codes. Come back and look at this if you'd like on page 276. And that continues on to 277. Responding officers are listed here: Simmons, Bakes, Coonrod, Baumover, and James. And then giving the address 2825 Saratoga. We'll move on to page 278. So another call detail report. The contact here that's listed is friend Sam, and this is dated as August 14th between 9:52. There are more radio log transactions here that are, again, you can revisit those. I will not be reading all of those details, as they, again, I'm not well versed in them to be able to decipher them for you. Moving on to page 279, we have more of those logs. And then 280, more of those logs. 281, that continues, and down into 282 as well, and into part of 283, at which point we get down to new or more comments. So Detective Baumover is on this case. She has some information about the husband. She has had some contact with him. That's regarding Nicole. Patterson will handle. Patterson, then Catherine Lines listed. Good morning. All units attached to 295L will be on foot. K9 track. No need for status checks and no need for a clear channel. Thanks. That was on August 14th, 11:06. A couple other entries from Martinez. Requested phone call with info from Jay Floors. Next, cross-reference Meet Elizabeth Hernandez with Denver Post. We'll continue on here. Erica wants contact by phone. RP wants to know if the missing female drives a small silver SUV. RP informed the Aurora Police Department about the information that she had. At 13:02, a neighbor across the street wants to know about her safety. Keep going down. 14:31, another caller, Ann, requesting to speak to FE 983 about missing party. Ann is missing adults realtor. Spoke with them yesterday. Okay. So that was the realtor that was in contact with them. Continue down onto page 284. At 15:16, K9, track complete from Cat Lines. Another entry, Cat Lines, officers on foot in the area, no need for checks. Then Burling at 16:40, RP got card form, Officer Dole about getting video footage from neighbor Nate, having issues with only being able to pull 3-minute time frames. Peggy has info about missing person. RP noticed a strange car with someone that had a hoodie on. Billings at Miners Peak Circle, old Lexus with paint peeling. Seemed suspicious and driving around. Thinks it may be related. So let me know if you know anything about that with regards to this old Lexus and the person, someone with a hoodie on. I haven't heard much about that. 17:33, Sandra Rusek, Shanann's mother, has info and may have lead on the situation. I'll tell you, she's a trooper from North Carolina. Making things happen. I'm sure Shanann got a lot of her drive from her mother, as you can tell by her mother's, immediate actions. 1812, Fitcher, another RP, Addie, requesting to speak with FE 983 and FE 988. Those are the officers' badge numbers. Missing party was a friend, would like to speak with officer. 1817, another RP, Jackie, stated there is a white Ford Explorer, license unknown, on Highway 52 right by the urgent care facing west, that has been sitting there since yesterday. There is a blanket going across the dash window, stating it might be related. 1828, B. Ford, Sandra Rusek, Shanann's mother, saw on Channel 9 that Shanann's husband said at the end of the video that his kids were fine and then corrected himself. Requested officers to watch video. Wow, she's good. 1829, FE 976 will handle all media calls. Going down to 1901, Sandra Rusek, Shanann's mother, is calling and saying to see about checking the baby monitors, one in each kid's room and on Shanann's bedside. 1903, Sandra stated to not tell Chris about the baby monitors. That's pretty interesting. I know I had mentioned in a previous video about their ability to record, which it seems like you needed to hook up an external device, but did her mom know anything more about those? Because obviously if she thought that they were just a live feed, she may have just been trying, kind of anything here, but did she know that maybe they were recording? Because she even says, don't tell Chris about that, about the baby monitors. So that's an interesting thing. Let me know in the comments if you have any additional information there. 1949, RP Cindy Durst, just Cindy, referenced Shanann. RP spoke with FE 988 earlier and has more information for him. Phone contact. And then end of notes, going on to page 285. Another RP calling Paula, Steeple Rock Drive, stating that her garbage can is missing and her address is about 4 doors down from the lady who is missing. Wondered if this was related. 2054. Another RP, Marcy. RP was at the Walmart in Longmont on Ken Pratt around lunchtime and saw the missing woman from Frederick from Facebook. She was in the checkout with the two small children, buying booster seats and a potty chair. She was in the first south checkout line, and other than the kids, by herself. Older daughter was in the front of the cart, and the younger one was inside the cart in pajamas, and both had headphones on. Another RP, Louisa, calling from Arizona, notes below. Reference CWB case. Let's see. RP is the cousin to the missing female. Request a phone call from a detective. She would like more info about the situation and would like to provide some to the detective as well. Contact by phone. RP calling from Arizona. 2346. Have been keeping 983 apprised of everything as it has been coming out. Call type 1 reopened by J. Floors at 1112 on 8:15. And then also on August 15th, 1312, XREF meet at 2285 East Ken Pratt Boulevard, Walmart. Jake with asset protection, I imagine. RP has video footage he wants FEPD to check out. Reference the missing female and the kids. She may have been in the store on the 14th of August. RP has Officer James's card. I am skipping a few here and there. They're just kind of statuses of when an officer may be in the office or various things like that. So if you want to get more detail, you certainly can come back to these pages. At 1314, Michael with Fox 31 News, Denver would like to connect with PIO. 1447, another RP, Sergeant Varga, Arizona PD, is requested to speak to FE 983 at 928. Oh, that's a phone number. So FE 983 thinks she possibly made contact with the female and two kids last night. 1457, Jamila with Channel 5 News with Raleigh, North Carolina, calling to confirm there is a connection with North Carolina, would like contact from PIO. 1536. Another RP calling in, Debbie, stating that she'd received an email from People magazine wanting information about the situation. RP states that she lives in Minnesota but is from Colorado, so she had shared the missing person ad on Facebook. The email was very strange and just wanted to let the police know. Contact by phone with questions. 1816. Another RP, Henrietta, is in Michigan. Saw a female in a local grocery store that matched the description of the female and the two girls. Would like contact by phone. 1821. Another RP, Sergeant Hanneman, New Jersey State Police, requested to speak to an officer. Possible had sight of the missing person and her kids in New Jersey. Also wanted officers to know that the number listed for the detective is not good. 1834, August 15th. Mother of missing Sandra Rusak would like an update on what is going on, stated it's been 6 hours since she last heard anything. 1847. Sergeant Hanneman, New Jersey, calling back, upset hasn't heard from any of the officers investigating yet. 1900. Another caller, Amber, looking to speak to FE 983. 1918. Another caller, David, with CBS National News. Email is so-and-so. Would like to talk with the officers involved and are interested in speaking with spokespeople available and any statement that can be incorporated into the broadcast for tomorrow a.m. 1933. Another RP, Michaela, requested contact by phone, reference tomorrow's press conference. 1954. RP, Glenda, saw the news about the missing female and her two kids. RP believes she may have seen them in San Diego, California at 10:30 a.m. at the Ross in Santee. Did not look to be in distress. RP states the little girl had her hair colored red. Contact by phone. 2026. Another RP, Jake, with Walmart Asset Protection in Longmont, is calling to speak with FE 988. States he has surveillance video. FE 988 requested. Contact by phone. 2041. Sandra Rusak calling in. No one called her back. Has been 3 hours. Would like officer contact by phone. Wants to know what is going on. 2057, Brad's ER ETA 20 minutes, then Brad's took vehicle. 2157, Frank Rusak, he is the father to Shanann and wants a call reference why the house is taped off. He is calling from out of state and was advised of this by a neighbor that lives in the area. 2203, RP Ben with CBS would like contact by phone ASAP. 2204, vehicle sealed. 2207, Tony with NBC News would like info as well, request a phone call. 2210, Roger with KOA News, radio in Denver would like contact. 2212, start of search warrant by Officer Bakes. 2213, RP calling in, Allen, Rock Creek Drive in Greenfield, Colorado, is offering cadaver dogs to help with the investigation. 2216, tow OS. 2218, Vivint received an alarm from front door living room at 2212, spoke with officer. So at 2212 on August 15th is when that alarm from front door living room was generated. So it's clear that the Vivint system obviously was continuing to operate and sending alarms, at least that we know. Then 2229, father of victim found out info by news, need contact ASAP. That's really heartbreaking that they're finding out things from the news. And we have some additional names here, just different reporters and such. And we'll go on to page 288. 2303, we have A/M in custody, ER to NJC. We have a few news reporters after that. Then we have another RP, Eric, at 2334. Would like to know if the information on TV is true. RP and his girlfriend, Brandy, are good friends of Shanann. 011 on August 16th. Sergeant Banks says, end of search warrant. At 6:40, RP would like contact referencing a Facebook comment post on Channel 7 News by a Danielle giving very detailed information about the female and the kids' demise. RP is Julie. Coonrod at 7:35, August 16th, on duty as of 0735 at 7:35 a.m. and will be in Rogan area, available via cell if reception works. 9:58, another RP, Jessica, saw a little girl's shoe off of Godding Hollow at Colorado, west of that location in a field, on her hike this morning. Can contact her by phone. 11:15, shoe appears to be unrelated. 14:51, RP, Kelly, would like to speak to an officer about hosting a candlelight vigil in front of the house for Shanann tomorrow. Would like officer contact. 17:03, purse safe to tell there is a party by the name of Juanita from Deep Run, NC, who stated she saw a man on Facebook calling himself Johnson, who she thinks is the male involved. He stated he had a daughter named Bella and a wife that was a crazy ex and stalking him. He sent Juanita a picture. Unknown if it's the same or not. Juanita has more information. 17:49, Julie Jacobs at New York Times, wanting to speak with someone. So that is where we will end part 15 on Discovery page 288. In the pages to come are more logs that are codes. But so I thank you for listening as always, and we will continue next time with part 16 on Discovery page 289. Have a great day.